What if Dan Marino played for the Vikings in 2000? I know what I sounds very fantasy and out of the realm of possibility, and I'm just trying to make a theory just because it's a slow day or something like that, but no. This actually almost happened, and I'm going to explain easily how it almost did happen and how it could happen this time around. So, let's get into it. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if? An NFL theory. Dan Marino was a Hall of Fame quarterback that played his entire career for the Dolphins from 1983 to 1999. He retired after an injury-filled, disappointing finish to his career in 1999. However, it was revealed later that during the 2000 offseason, there were 3 teams that actually tried to sign him for the 2000 season. The Steelers, the Vikings, and the Buccaneers. Marino declined all of them and just stayed retired. However, he revealed many years later that he actually did consider the Vikings deal. However, he declined it for 2 reasons. One, he was too injured and he did not think he could play another season. And 2, he wanted to have the satisfaction knowing that he played his entire career with one team, which most players do not get that experience. But what if he did took that offer? What if he did play for the Vikings in 2000? It's summer of 2000, as the 2000 minicamp and such is getting ready to go. Dan Marino makes a shocking announcement that not only is he coming out of retirement, he is going to play for the Vikings in 2000. And the Vikings are a Super Bowl contender with one of the league's best offenses, and with a Hall of Fame quarterback leading the way. The Vikings view Marino as their last needed piece to finally make a Super Bowl appearance. Plus, he could possibly help Dante Culpepper be ready to take over the starting job after the season to help them have a successor to continue making Super Bowl runs. After he signed and plays for the entire preseason, the first big test for the Vikings begins in week 1 when they host the Bears. The Bears actually pulled off a big lead on the Vikings, and it was a huge comeback they had to make in order for them to win it. But I don't think Dan Marino could do it. Remember, he struggled in 1999, his last season. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. He basically was playing like Peyton Manning did in 2015. That's how bad he struggled. And I just don't think he has it in him, at least this time around. So the Bears actually stopped the Vikings from starting off the year 7-0, as the Vikings start off 0-1 now. However, week 2 would be one of the most anticipated games of the year, as the Vikings host the Dolphins. Dan Marino going up against his former team with a very strong defense, going to be pressuring him all day. The game would be a defensive struggle. However, Marino, despite his struggles, since he has played the entire Dolphins defense for 16 damn years by and large, and just played them the previous year on the practice squad and such, he knows how to handle that defense. And with one final moment of his career, he actually pulls off the comeback and knocks off the Dolphins to get the Vikings back to 1-1. However, after that, there's really nothing left Marino had. He would have statistically another bad year. He would throw more interceptions than touchdowns. He probably would miss a bunch of games due to injury. And in the end, the 2000 Vikings, instead of going 11-5 and making it to the conference championship, they would finish 6-10 and out of the playoffs. In the updated 2000 standings, nothing changes on the AFC side. The NFC side, however, changes quite a bit, as the Giants still have the number 1 seed. The Buccaneers, however, move up to the number 2 seed. The Saints and Eagles still have their original seeds, and the Lions actually take the 5th seed, as the Rams still have the 6th seed. Since nothing changes on the AFC side, it's still the Ravens that make the Super Bowl. And since I don't think the Lions could beat the Eagles, the wildcard matchups remain exactly the same. Division round begins with the Saints at the Buccaneers, and I think the Buccaneers easily would take care of the Saints. And after the Giants taking care of the Eagles still, the NFC Championship is now the Buccaneers at the Giants. What a defensive game this was. And this very likely would be the reverse of what the NFC Championship was in our timeline, when it was the Vikings at the Giants, and the Giants put up 500 yards of offense almost, and they shut out the Vikings 41-0. However, the Buccaneers this time come in with a very strong defense, not a strong offense. So they are not going to let no Vikings get 400-something yards like they did. And in fact, they might actually force the Giants to play kind of like how they did against the Ravens in Super Bowl 35. And if that's the case, I think the Buccaneers actually can go into East Rutherford and knock off the Giants. So now Super Bowl 35 is the Ravens and the Buccaneers. Oh, what an ultimate Super Bowl this would be for me if it was real. The best game for anyone that loves the defense. You would have the Buccaneers with one of the best defenses of that era, the 90s for the 2000s, going up against the #1 defense of all time in the Ravens. This game could go either way. On the one hand, like I just said, the Ravens had the #1 defense of all time, and we know what they can do against teams with a terrible, terrible offense like they did to the Giants. However, the Buccaneers could do the same thing to the Ravens, as their defense is much better than the Giants was in the Super Bowl. And in fact, remember, they would have home field advantage. The Super Bowl was in Tampa that year, so the Ravens would have to deal with home field advantage not in their favor. And the Buccaneers, of course, historically during that time, also played really good against strong defenses as well, and would have probably no trouble handling the Ravens. So I think in the end, the Buccaneers actually would knock off the Ravens in one of the most defensive struggle games ever to clinch their first title. And how sweet it would be at home, too. So, Marino signing with the Vikings would be an absolute disaster for him, and after the 2000 season, he would retire for good. But he would at least pad his stats a little bit more to make him still have probably a very impressive resume for his eventual Hall of Fame, which of course he would have to wait an extra year before he would be able to go in. However, this would probably be disaster for the Vikings, because Dante Culpepper did not really play much, if not at all, in 2000. So when 2001 comes around, when he finally gets the starting job, he would lay such an egg and the Vikings would continue to fall apart in 2001 that he might actually be cut after 2001 or 2002, when the Vikings continued to decline and show no progress in his second year as a starter. So Dante Culpepper might actually be considered a bust, and the Vikings would have to find a new quarterback sometime probably in the 2003 draft or sometime soon. So the 2000s would be an absolute shit show for the Vikings, and squandered a wasted opportunity at a possible Super Bowl appearance. But hey, it's just a theory, an NFL theory. Hope you enjoyed this one. Maybe you leave your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you think the Marino with the Vikings actually could do good and maybe make a Super Bowl appearance and maybe go all the way to win it all. I just don't think so, but hey, maybe you can convince me otherwise. So that is it for right now for some really short theories. The next bunch coming up are really long, and the next one, oh boy, it's something I don't think anyone's ever thought of, and it is going to be so interesting. See you guys then.